today we are going to look at this server fault question, which is, what is the difference between static IP and elastic IP addresses? So the person who asked the question refers to Amazon AWS. In AWS, we have the construct, the concept of elastic IP. And let's read his question. With Amazon's EC2, to assign an IP address, I create an elastic IP. However, it seems to just give me a static IP address. What is the difference between a static IP and an elastic IP? Or is it the same and just part of AWS branding? So we get where this confusion comes from. The IP address which is assigned is named elastic IP, which hints us to the fact that it may be dynamic, elastic, and changing. However, it's not changing. It's a static IP. So what is changing? This is the question. If it's not the IP address that is changing, why is it called elastic IP? So looking at the answer and actually the AWS documentation, we see that it clearly states that elastic IP addresses are static IP addresses designed for dynamic cloud computing. So the thing that is elastic and dynamic are the EC2 host, let's say. So if we assign an IP address to an EC2 host and it's going to be a static IP, just a static IP, it would stay with it. And if we turn off this EC2 host, then we turned off our instance with the elastic IP. And if we have an elastic IP address, then we can dynamically set this elastic IP into a new instance. So it's good for recovery. So if our EC2 instance is off, then another IP would get another EC2 host would get it. And this is the elasticity of this IP address. Let's read some more from the documentation. Unlike traditional static IP addresses, elastic IP addresses allow you to mask instance or availability zone failures by programmatically remapping your public IP address to any instance associated by your account, rather than waiting on a data technician to reconfigure or replace your host or waiting for a DNS to propagate to all your customers. Amazon EC2 enables you to engineer around problems with your instance or software by programmatically remapping your elastic IP address to replacement instance. So the dynamically or the elasticity of this elastic IP means that we can dynamically get this IP, this static IP. This static IP that is not changing, this static public IP, into another host or another availability zone automatically, programmatically, dynamically, and elastically. So if we continue looking at the comments, then someone asks, why do they call it elastic? And the answer is that a user can create, launch, and terminate server instances as needed. So the servers are elastic. The IP itself is not elastic, it's just dynamically allocated, okay, to services. So an elastic IP is a static IP. A static IPv4 address that is designed to dynamic cloud computing. The main purpose of these IPs is to mask the failure of software on instances from our AWS account. So the IP would be remapped automatically on another instance. So the elastic IPs are static and are not changing over time. We first create such an elastic IP, which we have a limit of 5 globally over the account. And the next step is to associate this elastic IP. The elastic IP addresses are either from a custom pool that we have manually imported into the AWS account or from AWS own pool of IP addresses. So it's a static IP. The IP does not change. What changes is the assignment of this static IP into the EC2 instances. In order to assign such an elastic IP, we go to the AWS console, we go to the EC2 console, we choose network security elastic IPs in the navigation panel, then we select allocate elastic IP address and we choose the IP address to associate. In a similar way, to disassociate this elastic IP, we go to the AWS console, to the EC2 console, we select the elastic IP address and we click release. The elastic IPs are static IPs from the IPv4 addresses, which are a scarce resource over the internet. So by default, AWS limits the maximum number of elastic IPs per region to 5. So I hope we clarified what is elastic IP. The IP itself is not elastic. What is elastic is the assignment of it into our resources.